to self in order to achieve holiness. We have to become holy. And people may ask themselves, how do I become holy? What is that? Where do they sell that? How can I get a hold of that? Do they sell that where? It's like, and then holiness is something very simple. It's just to do what is right. And what is right is everything that has to do with everybody else's. That's what is right. If you put everybody else's first and you last, you are walking in a path of holiness. If God is more important than everything, you are walking in a path of holiness. If everything that happens in your life is understood in God's will, you are walking in a path of holiness. If you are attentive not to break any laws to God because you have fear of God, because you know you have to be obedient to God because God told you so, then you are in a path of holiness. You are in obedience. And all of these things amount to a very basic rule. And it is that we have been given the truth as Catholics. And therefore we have to live up to that. So I believe that to conclude these reflections of today, I would say the Lord is giving us very specific basic information to each one of us to go through these times. And it is to become very humble, simple, Catholic, sacramental. Go to confession as often as you can. And make sure you have a very close relationship with the Eucharist. If you're not hungry for the Eucharist, go on your knees and beg the Lord to give you that hunger. Because if you're not hungry for the Eucharist, that means you are eating yourself. You see, you are filled with self-love. And that's why you don't have hunger for God. The hunger for the Eucharist is the sign that you actually dying to self. If you go to communion and you know that you could have lived without communion, then you know communion is not your food. And so what is feeding you? You're feeding from self. Self. That's what is feeding you. So you're eating poison. Because self, what is self? Death. That's what it is. So we eat from the bread of life. So we have to be hungry for Jesus. And if we are not hungry for Jesus, we have to beg the Lord to give us that hunger. Give me hungry for the bread of life. Give me hunger for you, Lord. I want to eat that bread. I want to feed myself with you. I want to stop feeding myself with my self-love, with my love.